There are over 160 champions in League of Legends, which makes it extremely difficult to choose who you should main. In this video, our goal is to help combat that and narrow things down to a few champions so that you don't need to play every single champion to find your main. This way you can start playing who you really enjoy faster and begin climbing at a quicker pace by being consistent on those picks. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Do you enjoy dealing a ton of consistent damage and being a force in the 1v1? If so, choosing a champion from the fighter or bruiser class is what we'd recommend. To make things even easier for you, we'll place these fighters into a few different categories. This first category of fighters are ones who can exert a ton of pressure throughout the earlier stages of the game. If you like being aggressive right from the jump or being able to punish your opponent's mistakes, then playing someone like Renekton, Darius, Aurelia, or Rengar is a great idea. If you'd rather play a champion who scales super well into being a menace in the side lane, then here are a bunch of picks to try out. You can still win early with many of these champs, but with a couple of items is where they can really shine. What if you don't really care as much for the split push power and would rather have a stronger team fight or ability to start fights? Someone like Kled, Wukong, or Gangplank are all great options. This isn't to say these champions can't be strong in the split, it's just they offer more teamfight presence than the champs we had in the split push category. Therefore, if you still want the option to split push, but also want to be able to teamfight well, choosing from this category is a great idea. If you prefer a champion who can teamfight extremely well but doesn't offer very strong side lane power, consider maining a tank. These tanks have a ton of crowd control and build super durable, so you're able to start fights very easily and be the go button for your team. This next category is more of a mix between a tank and a fighter. The champions in this category are generally a little stronger than the tanks when put into the side lane. It's really the champions who can offer a little bit of everything, as someone like Shen can split push, has good teamfight presence with ult, and builds very durable. And finally, we have the ranged top lane champions who every fighter main absolutely despises. These are the champs who have the potential to be most dominant in the early game and can snowball harder than most. Since the majority of champions played top lane are melee, you have a pretty big edge up in most games. One of the downsides to ranged tops though is that they are super volatile, meaning if you fall behind, you're going to be way less useful than fighters or tanks. We've divided ranged top laners into 2 different subcategories, being mages and AD champs. Mages are a little less risky than the AD champs as they can scale better without items due to their CC. AD ranged tops, on the other hand, are super feast or famine, as it's really only damage they can provide for their team. Moving on to the jungle role, let's start off by running down the skirmishing fighters. For junglers who like being able to duel their opponent in the early game and excel in any fights that break out, these are your options. If you don't want to rely on the early game as much and would prefer to come online much harder later on, then these are the fighters to choose from. Hard farming and playing more of a PvE style until you can reach item or level breakpoints is what you'll be doing on these champs. The last category of fighters are ones who are not the most optimal for early skirmishes, but have much stronger gank power to compensate. If you don't care about invading the enemy jungler or fighting over every crab, and instead want to snowball your lanes by spam ganking, look into any of these. As for tank junglers, we'll split them into 2 categories to make things really simple for you. Tank junglers are going to dominate come team fights and have excellent engage power. If you want someone who can also gank well early on though, look into Nunu or Rammus. These next couple of tanks don't have the same kind of early gank potential, but they make up for that with even more potent teamfight and engage power. You can think of them as the better scaling tanks. We're putting Diana in this category, but she could honestly have her own, as she's super unique in the sense she can get really tanky, teamfight well, but also has amazing skirmish. It's no wonder she's one of the highest play rate junglers right now. Next up, we have assassins, so if you enjoy being able to one-shot your opponents with heavy burst potential, there's a bunch of options. For more early game impact assassins, junglers like Rengar, Shaco, or Nidalee are going to be your best bets. Assassin junglers who are more reliant on farming levels and hitting item spikes, but don't fall off as hard later in the game, include the likes of Echo and Kha'Zix. The vast majority of junglers are melee, so if you enjoy ranged champs, you can narrow it down quite easily. First, we have the AP range junglers, and if you like playing an early game pick, then Talia is really your only choice. As for scaling AP junglers, Fiddle, Lilia, and Karthus are who you have to choose from. For more of a supportive AP jungler, Ivern is the only option. The ranged AD junglers are Graves, Kindred, and if you want to throw Twitch in there, you can. Kindred plays more like a traditional ADC than Graves does though, so it makes it very easy to choose between the two. Even though Graves is ranged, he thrives the closer he is to his opponents, so it's definitely a very unique playstyle. Transitioning over to mid lane, there are so many different champs you can bring to the role. Many of the fighter champions you see played top can actually have great success in mid as well. Playing a fighter mid can beat out the majority of assassins early on, and will provide you with great skirmish and an overall better potential to impact the game than from top. Mages make up the majority of mid lane champions, but we can sort them into subclasses to make it easier to choose from. In general, mages are very spell reliant, are quite vulnerable, but can have instant impact with proper spell usage. Majority of mages, like artillery, are extremely skill shot reliant, so they require more skill expression than the average champ. If you like being able to sit back from afar and rain down with heavy damage from spells, then Ziggs, Vel'Koz, or Xerath are your options. This next category will feature the burst mages, who are champions you will want to choose from if you like being able to insta-gib your opponent with one rotation of spells. This comes at a cost though, as once you've used your rotation of spells, burst mages generally have longer cooldowns they have to wait out. The battle mages are champions who thrive in extended fights and have stronger consistent DPS than burst mages. Generally, the cooldowns of battle mages' spells are much shorter than that of burst mages. If you want to be able to one-shot your opponent but don't want to deal with the lower mobility of mages, assassins are the way to go. Roaming and map impact can also be more consistent with assassins, which is a big reason why we see most assassins with better win rates than mages in solo queue. For more early game impact, these are the assassins you should look into. It's not to say that these assassins can't win early on, but they are much stronger the later games go. For example, Kassadin can win a bunch of his early matchups, but his mid to late game is astronomically better. Most of the scaling assassins also struggle with getting early priority, which hurts their ability to roam and impact the map. You can bring ADCs into the mid lane, but generally their success rate in solo queue is quite poor, with the exception of Uxin. With that said, if you enjoy playing ADC but would rather be in the center of the map with more impact on other lanes, then maining an ADC mid is not a bad idea. For the bot lane carries, we will divide them into 4 different categories. The first will consist of stronger skirmishing or dueling ADCs. If you like being able to outplay your opponent with flashy plays, then choosing one of these is a good idea. If you don't care so much about the mechanics of ADC and winning out in 1v1s, siding with a stronger teamfight champ may be in your best interest. Every single one of these champions lack a gap closer, but to make up for it, they provide incredible teamfight and the majority scale better than the skirmishing ADCs. The last ADC category consists of the catch or pick marksman. These champs excel at making plays happen from longer range and can reliably start fights by themselves. If you're tired of your support never going in or your teammates missing out on free engages, choosing from these 3 will suit you well. And the final set of champions you can choose from for the bot lane are AP carries. Are your mechanics absolutely awful but you still want to play bot? Is your team in need of magic damage after they've locked full AD? Very few players main mages bot lane, but they are insanely underrated solo queue picks. So if you like shaking things up and going against what everyone else does, you can't go wrong with playing a mage bot. After all, Seraphine does hold the highest win rate for any bot lane carry right now. For support, let's start off by talking about the melee options you have. Melee picker engage supports are going to be up your alley if you like being the one who's making all the plays. These champions have really strong crowd control and lockdown, which allows them to catch enemies out of position really well. These next set of melee supports do not have the same kind of all-in or catch potential as the engaged champs, but their peel power is what sets them apart. If you like melee supports but prefer being more of a protector, keeping your carries alive instead of hard diving in, then these are the supports for you. Many of these supports have great engage potential as well, but not to the same degree as the pick supports. Melee supports may not be your bread and butter, but what if you still want a champion with great pick power? This is where the likes of Bard, Lux, or Morgana come in, as they can find excellent catch plays but don't need to put themselves in as vulnerable spots to do so. Do you want to be the carry, dealing a vast majority of your team's damage, but still want to play support instead of an actual carry role? Pick up a mage support then. Brand, Zyra, or Fiddle are going to be the best teamfight mages you can pick, while Vel'Koz and Xerath have the strongest poke potential in lane. For your ranged protector supports, or also known as enchanters, we'll split them into 2 categories. If you want to be able to play more aggressive in lane but prefer the ability to keep carries alive later on instead of dealing massive AoE teamfight damage, someone like Karma is a great pickup. If the only thing you care about is buffing up carries, then consider choosing one of the scaling enchanters. A bunch of these champions can still have great impact in lane as well, but they will have considerably better influence the longer games go. The final category for support consists of just 4 champions, being Ashe, MF, Twitch, and Senna. These champs are so unique because they're the only AD carries played at high rates in the support role. This makes it super simple to choose your support if you like playing ADC but don't want to deal with farming. We could have also included Ashe in the ranged pick category as well, so that makes it very easy to single her out if you like making plays. Twitch for strongest roam potential, Misfortune for best poke, and Senna has the edge up in regards to scaling. And lastly, if you're just someone who's really cool and super handsome, then you just, pick Ezreal. Yeah, pretty simple category there. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So we hope this video has been helpful in narrowing things down to a select few champions that you can try out and find your main much faster. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck with your ranked climb, and we will see you back soon.